Week 4 things to note up top. Number 1, Zach Moss chalk once again in a match against Cincinnati. Number 2, this might be the worst QB week we've had all year, where lots of guys projected for under 20 fantasy points, lots of guys projected for really low implied totals for their team. So it's going to be a tough slate to figure out, but we're going to do it today. Of course, we're going to do the same thing we do every Friday. We're going to hand build a lineup. We're going to then look at the projections and the ownership projections from Stochastic. And we're also going to try to optimize some lineups, again, using the pure math of it all to find where players are going to get force swords this weekend on DraftKings. We're also then going to simulate some lineups. We're also going to do the Underdog Battle Royale this week. Lots of fun to get into, so let's start it off right away, as we always do, with the hand build. And shout out as well, I know in the Splash Play community, we do have a lot of people who are going to the Dog Bowl in Miami, of course. People who've advanced, people are just going to hang out. So hope you guys are having fun out there. Of course, I am in the Northeast dealing with snow and sleet and women's birthdays, and my wife who made us pay $1,500 to install a dishwasher inadvertently by booking some things and canceling some things. So we're crushing here in the Splash Play household, but of course we march on here as always. And let's actually do something a little bit different today, because I am going to do the hand build, but I do want to show you guys the projections here for the main slate for QB, because I was looking at it before the show. I was really struggling with where to go in the spot besides some of the obvious ones, where we are going to have Brock Purdy in a pretty good spot. We are going to have the Buffalo-Kansas City game. Obviously, those are obvious spots. Besides that, though, again, you see Mahomes, Purdy, Justin Herbert in a matchup against Denver, of course, the soft defense that we talk about beating up on every week. Then you have Justin Fields, Lamar, Josh Allen, Jake Browning, Russell Wilson, Josh Dobbs, Jared Goff, all these guys under 20, and a lot of guys as well under 15, where you have Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell, CJ Stroud projected for 13.8, Zach Wilson projected for 12.8, Matthew Stafford projected for 12.6, Bryce Young projected for 12.5. You still have Trevor Lawrence, these projections. Obviously, he's not likely to go, but CJ Beathard, you would think, would get a similar projection as well. So point being, we're basically talking about a slate where half the QBs likely won't get played, half the QBs you also probably shouldn't play because of the fact the projections are so low. Obviously, for tournaments, for the Millie Maker, for all of that, you are going to play whomever, just try to get unique. But it is a weird slate across the board. So let's try to figure out who we should play. And the one guy for a single entry, I'm not going to question it once again. After he made the Millie Maker last week, despite being basically not involved at all, or not involved enough, rather, to have a ceiling day. Zach Moss, 19 touches last week in the run game. Did also have 3 targets, as you can see on the screen as well, but just 7.7 points. The thing that stood out, though, is the red zone work in that game. And again, as I always try to do, I'm always watching the games that I have the most money on, the things that I think are the most important to talk about on Splash Play the following week. Zach Moss had the red zone workload. Like, he had the red zone workload in spades in that game. Was getting, I think he finished with about 7 red zone touches in that game. Might be actually a little bit more, but had basically the best red zone work in the league, and even better for the week than a Christian McCaffrey, than a Kyron Williams, some of those guys. So I think Zach Moss is good to go to in this matchup against the Cincinnati defense that we know on the year has not been very good in most situations. We saw it again recently, where obviously it gave up enough points for Jacksonville to win that game, but Jacksonville just didn't do it. But Cincinnati on the year, 0 flat EPA allowed per rush. Of course, the expected points added metric that tells you how above average a defense performs, how below average. Same thing on offense as well, per player, per team, all of that we talked about here on Splash Play. Cincinnati also giving up 0.01 EPA per dropback, 0.01 EPA per pass, 73% completion rate on throws of less than 20 yards. What does this tell you? This tells you that Cincinnati is going to allow you to move the ball. So if they move the ball, Zach Moss is going to get that red zone work again. The matchup is still not a great one in the red zone itself, a negative 0.06 EPA per red zone rush. But if Zach Moss is going to get you 5 to 10 red zone touches, he is good chalk again, despite the price tag coming up, despite all of that. So I'm going to put Zach Moss in here. We'll see what we get in the optimizer and all of that. I do assume that Zach Moss will be coming up very easily with the projections and his salary. Zach Moss is a player I'm willing to trust once more, even though obviously didn't go well for the larger part of the field. But the winning lineup still had Zach Moss in it last week at the cheaper price tag. So I think there's still going to be logic there. We'll see what the Sims say. We'll see what the projections say in a moment. Other spots we can go to here. So I do think Keenan Allen will pick up a good amount of ownership. I did see him projected for about 20% in some parts around the industry already this morning. Keenan Allen going against Denver, a very hospitable matchup. And we saw last week, for as much as people do want to talk, and I've seen it time and time again, both on the Splash Play chat, but especially when I do Stochastic streams, where I talk about how bad of a defense Denver is. And they certainly are leveling out a little bit more in terms of some of the expected points added metrics overall, but still, functionally not a good team. 0.02 EPA per dropback, 0.03 EPA per pass, 0.01 EPA per red zone rush, 0.62 EPA per downfield throw with a 50% completion rate allowed in throws to 20-plus air yards. So they're not a good team, to be clear, for anybody out there that's confused about that one. But Keenan Allen's going to be so chalky that it does feel like you were certainly running into a crush of ownership if you're going his way. That said, this match against Denver is too good. I think Keenan Allen is going to be good chalk this week. Expensive good chalk, but let's try to build around him and see if we get unique somewhere else. Shouts to Kyle. Shouts to the chat. As always, appreciate you guys being here, whether you are watching live or after the fact. Obviously, I know there's a lot going on as we get into the holiday season, as we also get into, again, the Dog Bowl is a big thing. A lot of guys who are watching this show are down in Miami, hopefully having a good time. So appreciate all you guys who are here with me. And of course, if you are here, smash that like button and subscribe if you have not before. Please do that. Of course, we're past 3K now, but on that march to 4K, then 5K, then 10K, then a million K. No, I don't think a million K would ever be possible. Even Mr. Beast doesn't have a million K. All right, other things that we can get to here. QB is going to be the last one I try to figure out. I think there are certainly some ways we could go. Justin Herbert does feel pretty good, again, stacking up with Keenan Allen. I'm a little bit intrigued by Jake Browning in the matchup that he has as well against Indianapolis, and maybe that is our way to get unique, is going Jake Browning's way. What is his price tag? $5,200, not that bad. Browning was so accurate this past week. It really felt like they closed a lot of loops on some of his flaws, where I talked about, the completed or the catchable ball rate rather is like the most important stat to me, because that tells you, is the QB putting the ball where it has to go to actually create production? Obviously the completion rate itself, the yards per attempt, all of that matter as well. But is a guy getting the ball where it needs to go, and ideally at some depth of target? Jake Browning now on the year up to a 75.6 catchable ball rate. And granted, he did get there on Monday night by a lot of kind of short throws, a lot of swing passes out to Jamar Chase in particular, but also just a lot of short plays. But he did get the ball downfield for portions. And we go against an Indianapolis team that once again has been one of the toughest teams, not one of the toughest teams, one of the softest teams, the exact opposite of what I just said. One of the softest teams giving up explosive plays. So they're giving up a ton of explosive plays over and over again. So for Jake Browning, I think that is kind of playing into his hands. I think we actually can afford to get to a Jamar Chase build this week at 7,600. Now, I do worry with Jamar Chase. We are coming off of a ceiling game for him, 34.6 points, 12 targets, caught 11 of them for 149 yards and a TD. Jamar Chase played really good in the Monday night game, so I worry that I'm maybe going into a chalkier build than even seems like it's possible. But Chase at 7,600, it's too good of a price tag. And also for me, like for best ball stuff this week, I don't have a lot of Jamar Chase. As I mentioned all offseason, I was getting a lot more Justin Jefferson, a lot more 101s. Jefferson's going to be back this week, but for the emotional hedge of it all, and frankly for the bankroll hedge, if Chase goes off this week, some of my teams are probably screwed. So I would say for Jamar Chase, I think he fits a couple different theories that I like to play into. But obviously the pure DFS of it all is that he's facing an Indianapolis team that gives up a lot of production. His QB is looking a lot better and was definitely schemed a lot better in week 2 as a starter. And then Jamar Chase himself, has a very big ceiling for a $7,600 salary. So I think for Jamar Chase, it's still a good spot to go to. And I am going to go there for this lineup as well. Now we have not a lot of salary left to get there. Let's plug in defense and see if we can start to figure out what we're going to do on that front. Texans D, highest priced on the week, going against Zach Wilson. Not the most opportunistic defense, so I don't really think that's actually a great play. Definitely want to pay down on defense this week if we can. Jared Goff has been kind of falling apart recently. I do think the Bears are a viable case to go to, because we are going to see the Lions drop back a lot, and they're very cheap. Seahawks D, basically the only way they stay in that game is doing something defensively to stop Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy also very big chalk on the slate, I would imagine, with them having the highest implied total of the week. So I'm actually going to go to Seahawks D here. I do think it's a very tough matchup for him, but we have to save salary in this build. And for defense, for the most part, I don't really care. Even in a single entry, I'm just putting in whoever's going to allow me to get the salary where I need to go to get players in. At this point, we just need to save salary. So $5,000 left per slot. We can make that work. Two things to note as well in the rosters this week, besides obviously getting Zach Moss starting, going to be chalk. Zach Charbonnet, currently projected for a lot of ownership. He was limited in practice yesterday, but Kenneth Walker also limited in practice yesterday. So this is one that's going to go down to the wire this weekend. Charbonnet coming off of a knee inflammation. Apparently his knee was a little bit puffy after the last game they played on Thursday Night Football. Kenneth Walker coming off the oblique strain, which could be a sign of a larger issue. He's a guy who's had hernia problems in the past. So both guys right now trending towards playing, but you don't know for sure until we get into the weekend. So make sure you are tracking the practice reports. Obviously you will know, but I don't think either guy is in play right now with that hang up in the air. So I'm just going to note that right away, because I do love Charbonnet, but if Walker is back, obviously that completely ruins the situation. McCaffrey, going to be one of the highest owned running backs of the week as well. Certainly don't have an issue with that one. Kyron Williams against Baltimore feels like a tough matchup. Very low projection for Matthew Stafford, so we just talked about a few minutes ago. Josh Jacobs, not a bad price tag for him. 6,900. Feels like it's a little bit tough to pay with this particular build that I have going, but he's definitely in the mix as well. Montgomery against Chicago. Chicago's run defense is a little bit tougher than the pass defense, so maybe a bit of a contrarian play along with Gibbs coming on, but not really sure that Montgomery's a play I'm dying to get to here. James Cook against Kansas City, a maybe. Singletary, The workload definitely getting chopped by Pierce a little bit. It's really ugly, man, this week. Like, I know obviously the handle is always a little bit tougher to come up on the spot with guys that I really feel strongly about. But I think this week in particular, like, you are noticing that just a lot of these guys, like, there's nobody that leaps out and you go, what a smash play, what a great play. It's all a mix of just kind of mid plays, no matter what spot, no matter where you're really going the price points as well, besides the top high dollar guys, of course. But let's go Josh Jacobs. See if we can make this work. Jacobs, 6,900, going against Minnesota at home. We do know Jacobs has been getting those 20 touches every game. You look at the box scores. Antonio Pierce had one promise, one desire to accomplish when he took over as head coach, was to get Josh Jacobs 20 rushes a game. And he's been doing that. 20 here, got to 15 total touches in the last one against Miami. Of course, the worst possible game script. But if you're getting to 20 against Kansas City, I think that's a decent sign. 27 against the Giants, or 26 against the Giants, rather 27 against the Jets. So a lot of targets going to Josh Jacobs since the Antonio Pierce move. Going against Minnesota, we just don't expect Minnesota to pull ahead that meaningfully. They certainly can. And if Jacobs is chalk, I would try to play Minnesota, putting up a lot of points, and Jacobs becoming kind of moot as a result. But I do think Jacobs in this spot at running back makes sense to go to. So we are going to stick with that play as our running back too. Let's see what we can get at tight end. Travis Kelce back on the slate this week. Kelce, not a guy we can afford. Matchup against Buffalo for him. Buffalo limits tight end targets pretty well, just a 7.6% target rate to tight ends, 0.06 EPA. Obviously, Travis Kelce is a different breed entirely, so that doesn't necessarily mean everything, but it does mean that for the most part, Buffalo is funneling more targets to running backs, more targets out wide, a 29% target rate out wide, 23% target rate to running backs. So they do target running backs a lot, which could be interesting for Jerick McKinnon if he's back in, Pacheco as well. If McKinnon isn't in, Pacheco could definitely absorb some of those short-range targets as well. Something to keep in mind. Tight end, the worst position. Is it an Isaiah Likely week at 3,500? Brevin Jordan. Don't think Schultz back in practice. Now, he didn't practice. I thought so. So maybe another Brevin Jordan week of him being low owned, though I don't expect much of a ceiling there despite the nice price tag. Gosh, Dawson Knox apparently still not activated off of IR. He's full participant in practice. Okay. So he has to be officially activated this weekend. So Dawson Knox might be trending towards going this weekend, which would hurt Dawson Kincaid as well. So that's something, or Dalton Kincaid rather as well. That's not the greatest spot. Michael Mayer, maybe the workload coming up for him. I don't have a lot of faith in the volume. We have not seen more than 6 targets in a game. But this is really the spot you would think where Michael Mayer starts to get used a little bit more. And Minnesota's defense, let's see. Minnesota's defense, only a 7.4% target rate to tight ends, negative 0.02 EPA. This is not the greatest matchup, but we just got to pick a tight end so we can move on to the other parts of this lineup build here. Kyle Pitts week. Oh, boy. Kyle Pitts week, maybe. Kyle Pitts going against Tampa Bay, team that gives up a 13% target rate to tight ends, 47% to the slot. Pitts does get 52 of his targets on the year out of the slot compared to 8 out of tight end. Fuck, it might be a Kyle Pitts week. The price tag on him, though, 3,700. That's not bad, and he is definitely a better play than Michael Mayer looks like. So, yeah, let's do that. Kyle Pitts at tight end. Taking suggestions here. Cole Kmet from Dustin. I do like DJ Moore as a play. Cole Kmet and DJ Moore, I think, have similar opportunities, obviously, and DJ Moore as well, having the big game, maybe opens things up a little bit more for Kmet this week. But I think Pitts makes enough sense. We do want to attack Tampa Bay slot overall. That's been a spot where they've given up a lot of production besides Adam Thielen last week, where, again, Thielen is old. Thielen is probably dust this time of year. Tampa Bay's pass defense, though, is so soft, as we talked about time and time again, especially on deep balls, a 16% touchdown rate when they're giving up a pass 20-plus air yards, which is I think roughly the highest in the league. So for Tampa Bay's defense, we want to attack that. Kyle Pitts, we know has upside, so I'm going to stick with Kyle Pitts in this build. One thing also to note this week, too, the 2 teams on bye are 2 of the defenses that we like to attack every week, the Cardinals and also the Commanders' D. So that also makes it a little bit tougher this week, both for us who do know the sharper things, but also people that just target DVP. So it is going to make it a little bit more of a tougher decision point, I think, for everybody overall this week. What other games we want to attack? Now I'm kind of feeling like maybe we go with an Atlanta. Oh, God. An Atlanta stack? Do we maybe try that? God, I don't really want to stack up Desmond Ridder. 21 implied points in this spot. But Tampa Bay's defense is not getting, it's really not good against anything, but especially against the pass. Can Ridder do anything? I want to believe he can. Because it's so cheap. This London Pitts Ridder stack is way too affordable. So we are going to go there and pivot off of Jake Browning. Again, I do think we'll pick up some residual ownership from the Monday night game. So Ridder, London Pitts get added in. One more flex spot, 5,300, that we can move on to the rest of the projections and all of that. Deonta Foreman coming back in. does seem like he could be running into a crush where obviously Roshan Johnson led the backfield last week. Khalil Herbert still in the mix. You can see here at 5,100, not the best. Noah Brown, I think Noah Brown gets targeted a lot out of the slot, right? The matchup against the Jets slot overall is one of the better ones to attack. Obviously, out wide is tough. You're running into Sauce Gardner and some other stuff. I've built this stack, Dustin says, and it opens it up quite a bit. So maybe Ritter does pick up a little steam this week just because it does open things up and does allow you to get to a double stack that feels pretty comfortable in a matchup against Tampa Bay. So that's interesting to note, but good call by Dustin / maybe a chalky call by both of us. Noah Brown. I don't hate Noah Brown. It's not a great matchup really anywhere. You try to attack the Jets pass defense. Like the slot matchup is better than outside. It's a negative 0.12 EPA outside with a 25% target rate compared to a 39% target rate to the slot at a 0.07 EPA. So like it is a positive EPA matchup, but it's not like a great one. But Noah Brown at 5K, we know the ceiling is there. Obviously was not there last game with just 2 targets. Nico Collins absorbed everything in that last spot against Denver. But I think Noah Brown works for this one. So no bringbacks, nothing too crazy on this one. Final team, Desmond Ritter, Zach Moss, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Pitts, Noah Brown. Feels crazy to be able to get like this many stud players in and guys that we would have thought, based upon the pedigree, based upon them being in their second year or third year, London and Pitts being in this lineup as well. So I like what we're doing here. I could also upgrade the defense, which might be a logical thing given that might be tough for the Seahawks D unless you just have to play them. Let's go Rams D here. Lamar's been begging to turn some balls over. Obviously, that game would certainly go well for Baltimore, but I think it's a little bit safer than Seattle's D. Seattle's D, obviously, you're playing the Seattle D to try to get leverage on all the Brock Purdy stacks, which there'll be a lot of this week, given the fact that he was a tournament winner last week, and that was another team, another league high implied total. This will be the final build. Noah Brown, Rams D. Let's put it in. Let's move forward to the projection and see where we're going to get there. Oh, wait, no, I meant to hit the mute button. So I could cough for a second. Here we go. Take that over. Not zooming in on my face to watch me cough. That's usually not the broadcasting move overall. All right, let's look at all the projections. Let's get rid of the QBs. Let's see what Stochastic says. And actually, good news for you guys. I don't have a graphic for this yet, but if you see me do this process every week, you see me do it for the showdowns, obviously, where we always every week land on unique takes and unique ways to approach the lineups there. You see me do this for the main slate as well. You can now do it for yourself at Stochastic and use the promo code SPLASH to save yourself 15% off on any package. That includes their NFL stuff. That also includes their NBA stuff. So get over there now on Stochastic. Put in the promo code SPLASH. You will save 15% on any of that stuff. So the best deal we could have. Would have loved to have had it earlier in the year, but they just offered it to me recently. So that's where we are with it. But if you have been curious about the stuff, you're curious about the Sims, curious about the lineup generator, another tool that they have that helps you make lineups very easily with a similar process to the Sims. And very similar as well to what I try to do manually with Showdown stuff. Check it out at Stochastic. Again, promo code SPLASH there will save you 15% on any package. And obviously I get an affiliate fee. So you're doubly helping out Splash Play with that one as well as yourself. Christian McCaffrey, top projected player overall, 24.1 projection, 2.6 value. So he's probably going to pop up a lot when you run the optimizer in a moment. Keenan Allen, number 2 projected. Patrick Mahomes, number 3 projected. Brock Purdy, number 4. Again, he'll be a very popular QB play again as a low salary here compared to guys like Mahomes, guys like Justin Herbert as well. A better projection than Herbert and a lower salary. I think Purdy stacks will definitely be on the menu. If I had to guess based on what we're going to see on the optimizer, and I haven't run it myself yet, so this is a pure guess, I would think we're going to see Brock Purdy, McCaffrey, maybe IU coming in. I would think you're going to see Seattle doubles, if not, or excuse me, San Francisco doubles, if not San Francisco triples. We'll find out in a moment, though. Justin Herbert at number 5. Top values on the slate, according to the projections from Stochastic. Jake Browning, top QB value. So he probably does make it into a lot of lineups as the QB value. I think especially with Jamar Chase. Chase probably not going to project as well as some of the other receivers. But if you do try to stack up in 4 stacks, I think Browning and Chase will come up a little bit more. Zach Moss, number 2 value on the week. Brock Purdy, number 3. So Brock Purdy is going to be everywhere because he's a top projected player, top projected QB, and a top value play. Baker Mayfield at 16.6 projection is number 4. Maybe a tournament play against Atlanta. And Russell Wilson, who just runs enough, does just enough in the pass game every week. But the ceiling just has not been there very much for him. But Russell Wilson, 17.7, number 5 value overall. And top defense of the week looks like the Ravens, just shy of a 10-point. Wow. 10-point projection for the Ravens. It's almost as high as we had the Steelers yesterday. Obviously didn't work out for the Steelers D, but that made sense based on the tournament ownership that we talked about yesterday. But Ravens D is a very high projection for a defense, so something to note at 3,300. Top owned players according to Stochastic. Zach Moss, number 1, 35% ownership projected for him. Christian McCaffrey, number 2, 30% projected for him. Keenan Allen, number 3, 21%. So a big drop off to Keenan Allen, which is kind of surprised. Zach Charbonnet at number 4. Again, I do expect that to come down if we see Walker active. Even if we don't see Walker active, I think Charbonnet might not be owned that highly. 5,400 is a pretty tough price tag, obviously, to avoid. But for Charbonnet, I think 20% ownership feels a little lofty against a Niners defense that everybody knows is a shutdown, and also just shut down Charbonnet 2 weeks ago in a very highly watched Thanksgiving game. So I think Charbonnet's ownership is a little bit inefficient here, or inaccurate rather. Javonte Williams, number 5 here at 5,800 with a 19% projection. I probably wouldn't take that one too much. Though Javonte every week is a projection play that just doesn't make the most real life sense with how Denver plays, with the game scripts that Denver ends up in. And I think it's the same thing this week, where the Chargers offense should have one of their best games you would think against a Denver defense. It's not very good. The team total for the Chargers is not that high. I believe it's like 23 and change. But still, like, it just doesn't scream Javonte Williams game script, even though it feels like they always want it to be a Javonte Williams game script relative to projections. We'll probably ever have fantasy score probabilities because I play a lot of prize picks. We're not going to have fantasy score probabilities. What we will have is have like a filter that allows you to sort by the bets that are over 54% probability or 54.9%, which is the expected win rate you have to have per leg for prize picks and Underdog. And technically, you could do that right now if you just sort through by probability on the app and just find ones, or go game by game and just find prop lines that you can find on Underdog and prize picks. But we're going to simplify it soon. Obviously, you know, it's a sports betting tool, so that's the primary use case, but that is next on our roadmaps to try to get that out. Hopefully by some point in January. Hey, shout out Tyler. Thought Tyler might be bandwagon his way to Miami to join all the boys. But appreciate seeing Tyler here. Of course, appreciate all you guys here on a slow Friday morning. Always great to see the familiar faces and some new ones as always. Guys under 10% who have slate breaking upside: Debo, George Kittle, Breece Hall, I guess theoretically, though at this point, does he really? Amon-Ra, Chris Olave, Chase projected for low ownership. I don't believe that. I think Chase comes up a little bit more than this. I would guess Chase around 15 to 18%, just because he had that big Monday night game, more confidence in Jake Browning, good match against Indianapolis. I don't think Chase will be this low, but he's projected for under 10% right now. Judy Chuba, who we saw put up 25 last week. A lot of guys you can get to at low ownership. So it's an ugly slate. Because it's an ugly slate, people are kind of forcing their way to just projection plays more so. So if you do want to try to get to guys that are just low owned, but you think I have a pathway, everybody's got a pathway this week for the most part. So I'd keep that in mind. Fly to hang most places, but the recent home renovation. Yes, always great for every relationship, I hear. And people's sanity is home renovation. And I could say that again as a man who spent $1,500 to install a $1,500 dishwasher, which is I can't even encapsulate how bad that was, and I don't even want to tell the story because it's so long-winded. But just a comedy of errors here that resulted in us finally having a Bosch dishwasher after not having a dishwasher for the last 3 months. But fucking A, man, just getting things installed by Home Depot, not a thing I'll ever recommend to anybody. That's point A. All right. This slate, main slate, top projected lineups here. This one is number 1. Jake Browning, Joe Mixon, Zach Moss, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Zach Charbonnet, Ravens D. So nothing too exciting here. No natural stacks. It does seem like overall the top 25 optimized lineups, you're getting 100% Zach Moss, 92% Keenan Allen, 92% Joe Mixon. So the only guy who's in every lineup, once again, the second straight week is Zach Moss, but obviously a lot of Allen, a lot of Mixon, a lot of Njoku and Elijah Moore as well. Moore did have 12 targets that last game with Amari Cooper getting sidelined with concussion. It does seem like Cooper as well not going to break out of the concussion protocol this week. So I get why people want to go to Njoku and Moore, but kind of think that game goes more on the low scoring side than not personally. Replacing furnace and AC unit. Guess what was leaking gas? Needed to replace fully morning of. Yep, water heater. Honestly, the thing that I did not know as somebody who rented for the majority of my life and has been a homeowner the last 2+ years is just the amount of things you have to deal with in a house over and over again, where I've talked about it on stream before, but we had electrical with water and the electrical lines as part of the issues we had. We moved in, we had to replace a breaker box because it had corrosion from the aforementioned water. We had to, if you guys remember last year, at the beginning of the season, had to get vapor walls put down here in the basement because we had leakage coming through. So we had to then do that. I was basically out of commission here for a month with that stuff. There's more that we had to do over the course of the HVAC had issues we had to fix. Home ownership, I will say, everybody out there, it's still, this American dream kind of thing. But for you guys out there, really be aware of the cost that goes in, and definitely don't do like me and liquidate your savings to do it. Because that was a big lesson in hindsight. But yeah, home ownership, bit of a fucking pill, especially if you're paying the 8% mortgage rates or whatever's going on right now. I would have a very hard time doing that personally. Just so much got to be liquid. Liquid in the name of finances, not in the name of your basement. That's what I would hope for everybody out there. Other things to note here in the team stacks. We are getting at least 3 Browns and 2 out of the 25, so nothing that crazy there. But at least 2 Bengals and 15 out of 25, at least 2 Browns and 13 out of 25. So you're definitely getting a good amount here. Yeah, I think this is pretty clear. People are going to play a lot of Cincinnati. I think people are going to play a lot of Cleveland. And that's going to be the value plays they get to. The interesting to note is we're not getting a lot of Atlanta coming up naturally with projections. So I think Atlanta will be a good play, like Dustin mentioned earlier. Like obviously I got to on the hand build, but it does seem like Atlanta's not going to be a projection play. So that's a positive thing to see overall. And then top defense, looks like it's Ravens by a wide margin. Again, such a high projection going against the Rams. It's obviously tough to go against the Ravens D, but the Ravens D is not the Ravens defense of previous years. So I don't know that I'm buying in on this Ravens chalk. Very low total for the Rams, 16.3 implied points compared to their yearly totals. And they are 7.5-point dogs, which is kind of crazy to see. I think I'd be more willing to play the Rams getting production here somehow than I would like the Rams just getting completely dusted. But obviously, your mileage may vary. We'll see what we get to on Sunday. Need 5 figures behind your down payment. That is true. I would say that is definitely, I know we spent more than that with stuff that we had to fix coming in, but yeah, it's just like, obviously with the situation with my job as well, Football Outsiders and fucking me over on so much money. It was hard for me to go from like, okay, let's spend so much money on the house to then let's spend so much money building a startup. Not the two wisest things to chain together, but we did what we did. And now we're going to simulate some lineups on Stochastic. And of course, what this is going to tell us is what the Sims want us to play, which is not always what you have to play. You should be using Sims as part of your process if you can. Again, 15% off with that promo code SPLASH at Stochastic right now. If you want to get NFL Sims, if you want to get NFL projections and data, or NBA, frankly, the NBA Sims, I think even more beneficial to a process. But you should be using the Sims, whether it be Stochastics, whether it be ETRs, the solver, whether it be Saber Sim. You should be using it to find unique configurations. Don't just take the top 150 lineups. You can do that, but you're just not likely to win. You still want to combine some game theory with that. And you want to try to take the highest ROI lineups in the sim that have unique constructions to it. So like if you had a Jake Browning triple and that graded out well, that's something you can hit that like people aren't going to play naturally, but might have a high ROI. So that's the kind of thing to keep advantage of or keep in mind of to give yourself an advantage when you are using the Sims. It's not just taking the top 150. And frankly, I thought I was getting unique enough by like combining projections early in the year, and I wasn't. I still had to do like the bit of the manual manipulation. So that is the part of the Sims that I think gets talked about in like lulz, but nowhere else in terms of how you handle the Sims. I think you're going to win DK Best Ball so you can use that money for more home upgrades. At this point, I need to win DK Best Ball or the Millie Maker or the BBM. So, but we will see how it goes, of course. We've got 4 weeks to go here of gripping best ball, and we will see how it goes when we get to the new year. But that is definitely going to be for me financially, and things coming to a head moment. We will see how it goes. Let's see what these lineups give us. Of course, if you're not familiar with Stochastic, what it does, builds the 10,000 lineups as a baseline, trying to simulate what the lineups will be in a contest. Then as they compete against each other 40,000 times to find the ROI for each lineup as well as each player. We will see those results coming up here in a moment. And I'm going to drink some water while this goes. All right. All the guys bragging about their mortgage rates. I got a 2.7, so I was there a little bit under that. But yeah, we got our house right before everything hit the skid, so I'm happy about that part. But the downside is like it makes you feel trapped that you can't ever sell your house, which I don't love because moving back to LA and playing an 8% mortgage rate is not the most appealing thing. So that's unfortunately the name that it's gone. All right, top 150 lamps, your highest ROI one. Jake Browning, Joe Mixon, Zach Moss, Chase, Ayuk, Guyton, Njoku, Kelsey, Vikings. So you're getting a QB +2 for Cincinnati here with a 1 bring back. So that is a pretty interesting situation to see at the number 1 ROI lineup. Top exposures overall. And if you want me to look up any specific lineups, please let me know and I will look them up. But Zach Moss, once again, 91% of lineups. So the Sims are saying yet again that Zach Moss is a play to ignore the ownership and just go in head first. I don't think Zach Moss gets the ownership he had last week, where we're seeing, I think, upwards of 60% in some tournaments out there. For Zach Moss, I think that it'll be closer to 38% to 45% will be my guess. So with 91%, by my estimate, you're getting double the field. I just don't think people are going to go back the week after he was such a bloodbath. Could be wrong about that one. I think this will be a pretty interesting test because it's a good matchup on paper for Zach Moss against Cincinnati. But obviously, with him being such a bust last week, usually the guys don't retain ownership after the big bust week. Then the price tag goes up by over $1,000. People play him again. So Zach Moss actually 45% might be aggressive, but it's hard to read the field this year, as you can see by following any industry ownership projections. right, people requesting some stuff. I'll look at those in a moment. Other high ROI guys here, David Njoku in 53% of lineup. So he's the chalk sim tight end. 47% Ravens D coming up. So again, chalk defense. The Sims do not fear chalk defense. So if you naturally are getting the Ravens through there, it's not something I would manipulate personally, but something to keep in mind for a hand build where I think for a hand build, I would just try to have less Ravens. For a sim, though, I would try not to care too much. Joe Mixon, Elijah Moore. So Browns chalk kind of screams maybe try to play Joe Flacco at QB. If you're going to get this much Njoku and more, I'll look at the chat's request in a moment, but let's see what that would look like, because whenever you see two guys coming up a lot, but you don't see the QB with them, it sort of doesn't make the most logical sense. This is something that Osmo himself, Alex Baker, had highlighted to me. We were regularly doing streams every week, really like multiple times a week. The beginning of Stochastic. Just sometimes when you see that happen where we're getting a lot of Elijah Moore, we're getting a lot of Njoku, why are we not getting Flacco? Flacco only comes up once in the top 150, but he does have a lot of high ROI lineups. So I actually think Flacco's not the craziest play in the world this week. Team total for Cleveland against Jacksonville, 17.8 implied points. I would rather, I guess the best way to say it is like, rather than playing more in Njoku without the QB, I'd rather play more in Njoku with the QB. And if I'm not playing the QB, I'd rather play one of more in Njoku, just because I think there's going to be a lot of lineups that put in both guys. And logically, I don't think you should have the double stack without the QB, especially when the QB is so cheap. Like Flacco is under 4,800 because I'm still seeing DTR as my guy at QB on my sheet. Yeah, Flacco is 4,700. So that's another cheap stack. So Ritter, we talked about earlier in the hand build, that's a cheap stack you can get to that's got some star players. Flacco is a cheap stack you can get to with some well-projected players. They're definitely cheap stacks you can go to. Thoughts on Gabe Davis is a one-off. I tend to think this is more of a Diggs matchup just because we're coming off the bye. The squeaky wheel for him is about as huge as you can get. And we have seen the one time that they've played an AFC Titan, not the literal Titans, but when they played the Dolphins, they did go really hard with Diggs. The matchup, though, against Kansas City, not the greatest. It does seem like it would be a little bit more Gabe Davis friendly. 46% target rate to the slot. Though Diggs does get more targets overall of the slot than Gabe Davis. 50 targets for Diggs compared to 24 for Gabe Davis. So I think it's a Diggs matchup personally, but Gabe Davis, we saw him have the upside. The price tag at 5,800 is not that bad. You can get there. I think playing any Bills pieces, I wouldn't begrudge because that game is actually one that feels alive to have a shootout. Let's see the request that we had here. We got a Stroud stack with Brevin and Nico. Okay, so going to Stroud against the Jets does feel like one for the brave, but Tyler is one of the brave. Lineup contains Stroud. Lineup contains Nico. Lineup contains Brevin. All right, so I got Tyler. So when it comes up in two lineups, neither of which win very much. A 0% win rate for this one, 0.003% win rate for this one. It's a really low projection for Stroud. So that's the one thing I would say why I'm not surprised we're not getting very much of it. But yeah, that's pretty tough. I would not advocate for that one based on what we're seeing here, where it's not even being built, let alone featured. But let's see if we get to other Houston stacks. So there are other Houston stacks. Stroud with Nico and Robert Woods comes up. Stroud with just Noah Brown comes up. Stroud with Nico and Noah Brown. So we're just not getting Brevin Jordan. So I think the biggest issue is that the Sims think that Brevin Jordan's not a good play. Vegas stack with a Jefferson bring back. All right, let's look at that. LV. And then let's add in Justin J. All right, Aiden O'Connell. Aiden O'Connell, Zach Moss, Joe Mixon, Justin Jefferson, Jacoby Myers, Garrett Wilson, Noah Fant, Josh Jacobs, Ravens. It's a lineup, not the sexiest lineup in the world, but it is a lineup. At least you are getting positive win rates here. You are getting negative ROIs, but they're still winning 0.01% of the time, which is enough to be willing to play them. And again, really for a sim, like I would just look for ones when you're going through, like, yeah, the Vegas stack itself doesn't look like the highest performer, but I would just pick off, like, here's your top 5 sim lineups here that have, a possible win rate, that have a good top 10 rate, that have, the best of the ROIs, even if it's still a negative ROI. There's no issue playing negative ROI lineups if they're the best of a stack you're trying to hit. So I think this would be it. This is the Vegas stack with Jefferson. Let's see. Probably because of Brevin is the starter projection. Is he? Yeah, you're right. You're right. Schultz still in for this one. Is it on ETR? Let me check that real fast. Yeah, ETR does not have Schultz in. So basically, Schultz right now on Stochastic is a 7.3 projection. Brevin Jordan's got a 2.2. On ETR, Dalton Schultz does not have projection, and Brevin Jordan has a 7.3 projection. So it seems like Stochastic would probably be about a 7.7-ish projection on Brevin Jordan. If we do have Dalton Schultz ruled out officially, but right now they do have Schultz in, so that is why that's why it's not coming up at all. But still, Stroud stacks don't seem like the most EV approach based on the Sims, but obviously, again, same thing. You can play any stack you want. It's just a matter of like what you're going to do. And how you're just grabbing any of them, that you can get that have some win rate. Stack contains Atlanta. We did look at Desmond Ritter stack earlier. Ritter, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, Keenan Allen, Jerry Jeudy, Drake London, David Njoku, Kelsey, Ravens. So we're getting a QB +1 here, QB +2, Ritter, Rashad White, Zach Moss, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Cooper Kupp, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Javonte, and Chiefs. So we are getting the bring back of Rashad White in this one. Yeah, Atlanta stacks, I think, have the most merit to me, but I think they're going to be I think tournament players will land on Atlanta stacks a little bit more. Thoughts on Rashee Rice this week with Kelsey looking old. So the issue with Rashee Rice is that he was back down again to under a 70% snap share last time out when we had Tony back in. I just worry about the overall workload. The matchup, though, should be pretty good going against Buffalo. They give up a good amount of targets out wide for a 0.2 EPA, 29% target rate out wide. That's where Rashee Rice gets a good amount of his targets. Out of the slot, they do allow a little bit less targets. Rashee Rice actually getting more targets out of the slot than out wide, which I didn't realize. 41 targets for him out of the slot compared to 22 on the year out wide. So Rashee Rice against the slot, you could do it. I don't love the price tag at 5,400, but he's also going to be owned. 14% ownership for Rashee Rice, according to Stochastic, 19% for Rashee Rice, according to ETR. So that's a lot of Rashee Rice out there. All right, Josh Allen will be the last one we look at here. Check this out. Then we will hit the Underdog Battle Royale, and no pick 'em this week because I can't even fake enter a pick 'em because of the Pennsylvania stuff. They now don't allow you to put them in. So we'll check the Probably prop markets after this one, and I'll do the same thing again on the Probly video at Probly app after this one. And of course, check it out. So let me drop a link to that. Fuck it. I'll do it in a different way. All right. Josh Allen stacks. Josh Allen, Joe Mixon, Zach Moss, Stephon Diggs, Bateman, Guyton, Travis Kelce, Dawson Knox, Ravens. Does feel like Guyton is sneaking into a lot of lineups as value, which I don't particularly love. I guess if you're not playing Keenan Allen, it makes a little bit more sense. I still think that Quentin Johnston is going to have a little bit more upside than Jalen Guyton. Like we've seen Quentin Johnston still be force-fed targets, was meaningfully back in the mix last week, cracked 10 points last week. The workload's been there relatively for Quentin Johnston. So I think I'd prefer him over Jalen Guyton, especially when we are seeing Jalen Guyton kind of float his way in naturally to some of these lineups. Other Josh Allen ones that look interesting. This one, Allen, Jacobs, Sharp. Nah, I wouldn't do Charbonnet. Allen, Moss, Chuba Hubbard, Diggs, Ayuk, Rashee Rice, Dawson Knox, Jalen Guyton, Falcons. You're getting a QB +2 with the bring back. You are getting Diggs, which I think is the important part. You're getting Dawson Knox coming off of IR, which will obviously decrease his ownership because he still has that IR tag on him on DraftKings. So this one makes sense. Not the most fun one, I think, overall relative to the players inside of it, where you're getting Chuba, you're getting Dawson Knox, you're getting Jalen Guyton. But it does make sense. You're getting a share of the Niners game, given the high total there. The lineup works. I think that's a good Josh Allen lineup. Let's look at the Niners really fast, just because I do think they are an important one, and I'm surprised we didn't get more of them in the optimizer. Getting a lot of them in the sim, though. There's a lot of Brock Purdy lineups here. But the number one ROI one, Brock Purdy, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, Brandon Ayuk, Deebo Samuel, Elijah Moore, Kelsey, and Sky Moore. So you're actually getting a Chiefs double with Chiefs defense, a Niners double as well. You're not getting McCaffrey. Weird build, but that is the top ROI one by a pretty wide margin. And overall, again, the last part of the Sims we'll look at here, we're going to hop into a Battle Royale in a moment. This is a lineup I would use for cash games, 64% cash rate. Jake Browning, Joe Mixon, Zach Moss, Keenan Allen, Brandon Ayuk, Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Zach Charbonnet, and Ravens. Obviously, if Kenneth Walker is in, that's less of a cash game lineup. But if Kenneth Walker is out, I think that's a pretty good cash game lineup to go to. All right, on to the Battle Royale. Let's do it. Of course, big week with the Dog Bowl going on. Battle Royale buried down here, but still $30K to first place, $5 entry fee. Hopefully, it'll let me enter on the first try and not tell me it. Of course, why? You know my location. It says my, I know you guys can't see the banner up here. It says, it has a little location pin indicating here's my location, but Underdog has to make my life difficult now, as has been the theme of the regular season so far. We are in Battle Royale afoot. Will we draft a better team than the Dog Bowl competitors? Probably not. Probably not. but we'll draft one here on Underdog. And of course, let me pull up the promo. Of course, the promo still goes on Underdog. Use the promo code SPLASH on there. That's a promo code on any site that I mentioned that we have a promo code Stochastic, 15% off with the promo code SPLASH. Underdog, save, get yourself a deposit match up to $100 with the promo code SPLASH, and also get a mystery pick'em if you're a new customer. That's basically an easy pick'em to win. So that's what goes on if you are new there. And no badges in this one. All of them are in Miami. So we get to draft against Strick and Rushman and DTG and Grant Dula and Jado Picks. Jado Picks, my favorite picks site is Jado Picks. I have the same issue for weeks. Well, all right. Glad it's not just me, I guess. Thought it was like the Pennsylvania part of it, but either way, Underdog making my life a little more difficult every day here on stream, which is never the goal, but it is what we try to avoid as best we can here. And of course, guys, if you're new around here, always helps me out if you subs. Actually, let's use the big one here. Always helps me out if you subscribe down below, if you hit the like button, if you leave a comment. Splash Play, independent proprietor channel right now, doing the best I can to keep it going every single day here, Monday to Friday at 11 a.m. So please subscribe down below. Please smash the like button. If you watch this video, please watch a similar video afterwards, so it tells YouTube that, hey, these guys are moving views around. They're part of the ecosystem. But do all that stuff if you can. Help us keep growing here, because I feel good about how far we've come as a channel this year. Even with it just being me here every day rambling for a half an hour to an hour every day. So that grind continues on. I'm not going to stop doing it now. So please come along for the ride here, but keep going all playoffs along as well. And then once the playoffs are done, then it's best ball season again. So it just doesn't end here on Splash Play. But in particular, in January, the rookie previews, I think, will be very live once again, because I think I hit rookies harder than anybody last year. I would put my record of evaluating the rookies up against anyone. So we'll find out again come January. Caleb Williams, Drake May, other guys. I did hit 3K subs. Yes, we are on the march now to 4K. Did I say 3K? 4K, 5K, 10K, a million K, as I said before. Wow, even BBM top finishers last year. Charlie, of course, the top 3 finisher in BBM. He can't get in without his location being checked too. So I don't know what it is, man. I'm sure it's new tech or something, a new third-party provider. That's how it goes often with a lot of these apps. But yeah, just, a little more glitchies than we're accustomed to seeing. I think all the other issue too is like Underdog has spoiled us so much by having such a great product for years, and now we see some of the glaring issues, and you go, okay. All right, so we have some nice players here. I worry about getting a little bit chalky, but I'd like the spot for Amon-Ra again, going against a Chicago defense that is very bad defending the pass. I think that makes sense. And Keenan Allen, we also like another matchup where they are very bad defending the pass. And Keenan Allen going to be chalk everywhere, but on Underdog, you're seeing Jefferson and Diggs go ahead of him. I don't think that should be the case. I think, to me, this week, Allen is the wide receiver 1 for the main slate. Tyreek will be the wide receiver 1 for the entire slate, because I think they're absolutely going to annihilate Tennessee. Obviously, that's going to be the chalk expectation, with them being a 14-point favorite last I checked. But yeah, for Keenan Allen, I think he's the top wide receiver play. Like, you can't give up almost 200 yards to Nico Collins and then think you're going to come in and do much to stop Keenan Allen. Denver is so bad, man. And the amount of people who don't realize that Denver is bad every week just baffles my mind. It really does. And I know the full stack didn't get there versus Houston, so people would go, but it didn't get there. They got an interception against CJ Stroud. Like, it's been the luckiest run that they've had to stop any player. And guys who actually are good, who get the ball, they just can't stop it all. A Rushman going Kelsey and Sam Laporta here. Baffling. Everyone's scared of Pat Surtain. You guys know, like, individual cornerback matchups, never a thing that I would sweat too much. But like, we've seen this happen in the past. Like, again, Surtain was on Nico for a lot of that game. He also was hurt in that game, so you give him some grace on Patrick Surtain's side. But like last year, Devontae Adams put up 200 yards against Surtain. Like, shutdown corners are not infallible. The Jets, I think, you get a little closer to being infallible because the outside corners are so good, and schematically they do a good job preventing deep targets, running the cover 2 shells and all that. So like, they prevent big games, like, as part of what they do. But for Denver, it's like they just go, whoa, and then a pick falls in their arms and they go, we did it, guys. Like, that's Denver's defense. They're like a bad guy in a cartoon is what that defense is every week. But whatever. People don't want to, people are going to play Keenan Allen this week, so I guess I'm not alone on the island, but they should have been playing every receiver against Denver for weeks, because that's how it's been. All right, see what we're going to do here next. Jado picks, making his selections. You got Diggs, you got Allen. What does he do next? Hawkinson, high ADP for Hawkinson relative to no Justin Jefferson in the mix. And there goes Hawkinson. So we're not going to get him anyway. Man, this really feels like a loaded wide receiver week overall. I always liked Michael Pittman. I don't want to go chasing him after the big game last week. Let's get some running backs in. Let's go Zach Moss. Herbert hasn't gone, right? Yeah, Herbert's still available. We'll get Herbert later on, I believe. Kittle targeting the upside against Seattle. He's the only elite tight end left. We do have Komet, though, as a bring back potentially for Amon-Ra. This is tough. I'm going to go Komet. Because I think anybody in my spot drafting where I am right now would take Kittle there. And I do think Kittle's a good play, but obviously, we are seeing a little more going Debo's way. We are seeing a little more ceiling going Ayuk's way. So I think it makes sense to go for Kittle overall. But I think anybody who's drafting here where, you have 3 tight ends off the board with the top 3 tight ends, I think people would take Kittle. So I believe I got unique, but I don't really know. Battle Royales are hard, guys. I feel like it's the one thing I've not figured out DFS-wise in terms of like the approach. Like showdowns every week, and I'm sure you guys know because that's the videos that get the most views on the channel. Like I don't think I've had like a bad showdown like approach every week. Like yesterday, I didn't have great lineups. I think I ended up losing like $100 out of like 500 that I put in. So it wasn't that crazy, but like I had like the right approach. It was going again to the Patriots, treating them like they're not a cum towel, treating them like respect and giving them a little bit something to believe in. That's how the game played out yesterday. But I feel like every week I'm hitting the showdown kind of takes and how to approach that. For the main slate, I'm getting close to like the right things. For Battle Royales, I'm just like, yeah, I guess I'll take this guy. Oh, I got to scroll down here. I just feel like Battle Royales, unless you're putting in a bunch of them, just hard to get like a feel for the room every week if you're just doing like 1 to 5. But that's me, obviously. It could just be my brain. Why did this guy take her? Fuck off. Again, just not enjoyable in Battle Royales. This guy took Herbert for no fucking reason. I could take Jared Goff again, but Herbert was kind of appealing here. Whatever. Like, why take Herbert there? There's just no reason to do it. What is he going to stack Herbert with Quentin Johnson in the last round? Get out of here, man. Oh, these fucking people. I think Josh Jacobs still a good pick. Now we're getting him at 31 or 30 with a 22 ADP. So we'll take that, and we will take Jared Goff as our QB. The naked Lamar kind of appealing at this point, but we'll take Jared Goff. We got the correlation with the Amon-Ra. Final Battle Royale team after getting sniped. Like, what is this guy? Why did he take Justin Herbert? What was the logic in that? God, just unbelievable. Jared Goff, Zach Moss, Josh Jacobs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet. And now we're going to wait to see why Grant Dula took Justin Herbert when he has Nico Collins, Debo Samuel, Bijan Robinson, and Alvin Kamara. Oh, because he's going to take Dalton Kincaid. You had to take naked Justin Herbert so you could take Dalton Kincaid in the last round. Unfucking believable. All right, guys, let's switch the brand over. Let's go over to the world of probably. This will be a little bit easier to look at things. And, of course, this is going to be a preview of what I'm going to do on the Probably channel in a moment coming up where I will walk through all the Week 14 best bets. But I like to show it to you guys here because, frankly, I need you guys in Splash Play to sign up more. This is the reality of Probably, like, we got bills to pay, guys. Like, I've been accumulating a lot of money to Amazon Web Services. I've had to pay it out of pocket. We're now at a point where, like, I can't keep going on forever paying out of pocket. So we're trying to find investors. But really, the best thing that you guys could do if you have the means, if you are in a legal betting state and want to get in more good bets, go check out Probably right now. Of course, you're seeing the promo code for the Probably channel. If you are a Splash Play viewer, you get 50% off using the promo code SPLASH. And again, that means you're basically getting all the bet data for $10. Yesterday, we were up, I think, 4.8 units, and we're 2.8 the day before. So, like, the data is crushing. The videos I'm doing are also crushing, which is hard because I'm putting out 10 bets out of, like, the millions that we have in the database in a given day. But check out Probably. Like, you really will find it a lot easier to win money. And I think the thing with betting too, that's like a big issue across the industry is that people bet on stuff that they want to root for. You should be betting on stuff that's mathematically profitable and rooting for that. Like yesterday, it was like I was rooting for the Trey Murphy over on 12.5 or 13.5. I forget where I got it. He had 14. Like that was a sweat that got there because of the Pelicans getting blown out. But also like the NBA bets we hit yesterday. We had the money line on the Patriots first half. Like a lot of things are hitting there that are longer shot bets that I think, frankly, I'm not doing a good enough job promoting it to you guys. But also in general, like if you are a person that trusts me and that follows Splash Play, like you are doing yourself a disservice by not using Probably's data to bet. Again, it's as good as OddsJam, if not better, but a lot cheaper. And we use OddsJam as one of our data providers. And of course, they do a great job too, but that's like for power users that want to be tethered to their desktop. If you just want to get good bets from the toilet, from your phone, these are bets you can take. So I would try to do that if you can. If I live in a legal betting state, yeah, you guys all need to move to make my life easier. But there we go. All right, let's look at some of the top bets here. This one is a long shot one. I would not take this, but the Ben Skronek touchdown's over. And again, this is where there is personal choice to it as well, where I'm sorting by most profitable here. So that eliminates any negative EV bets that we're getting according to Probably data, where of course we're tracking the top performing sportsbooks around the world. And then using that data to find a true probability that allows you to get the best bets at legal US sportsbooks. So that's what the process is. That's how it goes in the back end. It's all automatic via APIs. It's not me giving picks. Like obviously, I guess if you follow this show, you probably think I give good picks, but it's not my picks. This is just math. It's basically anytime you find an inefficiency in probabilities, that's where you win money over the course of time. The bigger the sample size you get. And it sounds crazy. If you bet 100 plus EV bets using Probably's data every day, like our win rates were 50 to 60% per bet, and then 5 to 25% ROIs per sport. And that's just over the course of 1 month before we back tested it. So like, it's the more you put in, the more you get out. That sounds like a fucking scam. I know, like I hate it. I hate that it does, but like this is the fucking thing, man. Don't chase the parlay guys on Twitter. Just use probably.com and get a membership at probably.com/subscribe. 50% off with promo code SPLASH. If you can buy a year, do it. It's under $250 for a year, and it means the difference between us surviving and dying right now, if I'm being real with you guys. But we'll see. Hey, Smiles here. We'll figure it out. Ben Skronek, though, if you wanted to take this one, 9% probability, really long shot, plus 1,000 odds. Would not be the bet for me, but it is a bet that's plus EV, and I'll always highlight ones that are plus EV. Alvin Kamara over 31.5. This one, if you get this line on Underdog, this is one you could take, Underdog or Prize Picks. 55% probability in this one, 3.03 probably score at minus 115 odds. So that's a good bet to take on the sports books. But again, if you see a bet over 54.9% probability, that is a bet you should be putting into your 5-leg picks on Prize Picks. That's one you should be putting into your 5 layers on Underdog. That's just the math here, where you need to have your pick rates have an expected probability of 54.9% to win over the course of time. Doesn't mean you're going to win every bet. Like I think for our data especially, it's about getting up in units every night. It's not about like winning 7-0. It's not about trying to do the fake parlay shit where guys bet 10 parlays and show you the one that won. At probably it's like the more bets you get in, the more it's going to add up over the course of time. And that's just fucking what the math is. Can Spags run for president? Instead, platform be to legalize weed and sports betting. I mean, look, I think that'd be a popular platform. I'm sure I'd have some enemies right away. But we'd give it our best shot. I would also recommend, if you are going on Probably, try to avoid ones under a 1 Probably score, because that's in the margin of error. Ones over a 1 are fine. Ones over a 2 are fine. A 2 over a 2 is what I aim for usually on videos, just so you guys are aware. Kamara over 34.5. This one is also available. 54.4% probability, minus 114 odds right now. 2.1 Probably score on that one. Other good bets, Vikings money line. This one's not a long shot bet, but 57% probability on this one, minus 125 odds. Give the bet just under a 2 Probably score. So I would still advocate for this one. God, a lot of touchdown props that I really don't want to take, but they are an efficient probability, so I get why they're coming up. A Rams first quarter money line. I have had a lot of success with the early money lines for an underdog, in the NBA especially. Like the Blazers have hit a few, but yesterday it worked out for the Patriots too. So I'll highlight this one. Rams first quarter money line, big underdog, but a 33.5% probability to win the first quarter, plus 205 odds. Give the bet a 2.05 Probably score. As you can see here as well, this is updated 11:44 a.m. We are live right now at 11:55. That's how much we are updating here. We're updating basically every 10 minutes. And for live in-game stuff, we are updating even more frequently. Let's see. Football, the most efficient market here, but over 43 is a 44% probability. At this one, 43.5% probability for over 43, plus 140 odds. Give the bet a 4.5 Probably score. So a lot of 4s in this one, but that does seem like a good bet. Over 43. And Falcons versus Bucks. Over 17.5 first half total points. This one coincides pretty well with what we talked about with Elijah Moore and David Njoku being well projected. Over 17.5 first half total points in Browns versus Jaguars has a 40.3% probability to win. You're getting plus 156 odds, so a 3.1 Probably score. A lot of good bets in this one. Again, 11:54 update. It was updated 1 minute ago while I was just rambling away about another bet. Broncos over 20.5, 2.7 probably score, 51.3% probability to win, and is plus 100 odds. And anytime you have a bet, this is a really important thing for you guys. If you're new to betting, or if you're just trying to like lose less than your bets, even if you're doing well, anytime there's a 50-50 bet, especially with the probabilities, and you're getting plus odds, whether that be plus 100 means you're not paying sportsbook vig basically on a coin toss bet, or in this case, a little bit better than a coin toss bet. But if you're getting like plus 110 odds at a 50-50 probability, that happens a lot with ESPN bet, plus 120 odds, you should always be taking those bets because that's like the sportsbook paying you vig on what's a coin toss bet. So that's how you really win over the course of time. Obviously, the long shot bets, again, do well. They're definitely more for people with a bigger bankroll. But ones like this, where it is, again, another Romeo Dobbs prop. If you get this 42.5 line on Underdog, this is one that should be part of your parlay on there. But Romeo Dobbs over 42.5, 44.9% probability at minus 115 odds, gives the bet a 2.6 probably score. So lots of great bets in here. Of course, I could just keep scrolling through in perpetuity and finding more, but you guys get the gist by now. We also have MMA. We also have soccer. We also have basketball. We have everything here. We've got the NBA in-season tournament. We have tennis, probably some tennis games going on live, perhaps. Let's see if we actually have anything live right now. Miriam Bulgaru. Who could resist this one? That one's not a plus EV bet. But point being, we have it all at Probably, so check it out. If you're not familiar with the tool, give it a shot at probably.com. Of course, I'll be doing the videos still every day, including for week 14. I'll be doing a similar version of this, but, for a different audience at Probably app on YouTube. So check it out. And actually, let me just pull up our fucking link because I know it's easier for you guys to follow a link than it is to follow me saying it. Subscribe to Probably app if you can. Check it out there. If you want more Spags content every day, doing under a 10-minute video every day, and actually going to start doing them, I think, at midnight next week, which is going to be awful for me, but is what we have to do to compete with the Joneses, and that's what we're trying to do at Probably. Give you guys the best betting info. Give you guys real takes about betting as well. It's going to help you win money. And then also, again, bring the same process here on Splash Play. I care about data first and foremost. I care about helping you guys win money. I care about helping you guys not lose money. That's what always I do with everything I do in this industry. And obviously it's meant, to give myself a life, give my family a life, to put a roof over our head like I've been able to do with my gambling winnings in the past. But for you guys, that's what I'm doing with everything. That's the focus of this second chapter of my career in the space. And I hope you guys will come along for the ride. So use the promo code SPLASH at probably.com/subscribe. Again, it would really help out there, whether it be 1 month, whether it be a year. Great deals on there, saving 50%. And again, you can get this data for under $10 a month with that promo code SPLASH at probably.com/subscribe. I'll be on the Stochastic stream at 9. Of course, on the Probably channel coming up in a moment here. Let me go back to Splash Play. Appreciate all you guys being with me. Let's do the reading of names here once more. And actually, here's a Probably ad. There, you can see it visually. Oh, there we go. You can see it visually right there. There we go. Squirt Squad, thank you for joining here. Of course, if you want to support the Splash Play side of the equation, I would say, first and foremost, if you can, support the Probably side, but also support the Splash Play side by joining down below for $4.99 a month. Of course, very grateful to have this community that we're building here every day. All you guys who show up, who hang out, who give good takes, give fun chats, who make this fun for me every day. I appreciate all of you guys. And I will show my appreciation by reading all the names aloud once. Right now, Robert Griffin III, Historical Anomalies, Matthew Emerson, Tyler, CLN, Mathology, Rupesh, Willis, Nick Hedgeland, Ivan Black, Rod B. Throbbin. Again, very real name is always here. It's Just Port, Io, aka Tony Mark, aka our guy Mark, Rob Van Natten, Brandon Wagner, Consigliere, Bolick, Aaron D, Nez of the Badge Bros is down in Miami competing for the big bucks. Jake Twitchell, fucking Alpha, Sammy Telesco, I Am the KY, Kevin Castro, Eric Jones, Colin Mann, Matt Schwab, Gamblestein, Lateralis, Go Birds, Primetime Cave G, and Eric Swift. You guys have helped us put on the show this week, and I thank you for it from the bottom of my heart. And of course, please do join down below. Get my data sheet, which I'll drop after the show today. And also, again, there's a lot. I'm doing a lot here every day, guys. Please do join. Subscribe down below with the like button. Follow me at Chris Spags. Follow the show at Splash Play Pod. And shout out to all you guys being here with me. Hope you guys have a great weekend. And again, if you are watching this after the fact, competing in the Dog Bowl, I wish you guys the best of luck. Bring home the win, both for yourself and for the greater Splash Play community at large. But good luck to you guys this weekend, week 14. Good luck to your best ball portfolios as well. This is it. Unless you're playing on drafters, this is where it all comes down to. So fingers crossed for all of us. Pray. We'll talk about it next week. I'll see you guys on Sunday on Stochastic, in a moment on the Probably channel. Wherever you find me, I'm here. I don't know. See you guys soon. Enjoy your weekends. Good luck. Bye.